Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm your host, Lisa Curry.
Hey, and I'm Matthew Sheffield.
And today we have no guest because we're too interesting on our own. I think it would be too overwhelming for
Yeah.
a third person to join in. A lot of exciting stuff this week.
Yeah, Donald Trump, his continuing trials, like the guy has so many lawsuits now that no one can keep track of them. And
I love it so much. This is my, like, I don't watch trash TV like Real Housewives or anything. This is my Real Housewives.
it really
I
is,
love
it
it.
is it.
Well,
Yeah, like
because
the only
every
thing
case is
missing.
like a different season of a show, you know?
Yeah, and they're all in, and like they're in different geographies too, because
Yeah.
he's got New York, the Trump trials of New York, the Trump trials of DC, and the Trump
Mhm.
trials of Georgia.
Yeah.
And
There's
he's got a
scandal, there's lies, there's
yeah.
terrible makeup, there's like the same
Hmm.
characters, some of the same characters interwoven throughout. It's like this is excellent television.
Yeah, well, but we didn't get to see Trump on television testifying today, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he did, up in his New York civil fraud trial, took to the stand and was really clashing with the judge over. And I mean, like, the strategy is well, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, he's just being a whiny little bitch, basically,
Yeah, and the judge
the
at one
entire
point had
time.
to ask his lawyer to wrangle him because he was so out of control. And I'm like, this is, look, in a vacuum, this is so fun and hilarious. And then you pull back and you're like, this was the president.
Yeah, this guy
Not
who
that, like,
cannot speak a complete sentence, was the
yeah.
president. And couldn't tell that, like, and the thing he kept doing was just like he couldn't answer just a regular question. They'd ask him, okay, so what about this form here? What do you know about that? The valuation of some property, here. And then he would go on to, well, that property is worth more than it says, not less than what it says. And then, you guys are being mean to me. Like, that was basically his answer every single time.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so I
loved
could totally see why they told him to shut the hell up.
when they said Mar-a-Lago was worth like 18 mil, and then he came back with like, I think I can't remember what he said the low end was. I want to say he said it was like 90 mil, and he was like, or like 105 million. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's not, what are you talking about? There's not, appraisers aren't going to come in and they're off by 500%.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Well, and it's also that he's lying about what
Mhm.
it was. So, like, when he would go to banks, he would tell them it was his personal residence. Because the thing is, if it's a personal private residence, it's worth more
Mhm.
because you can't make money off of it. And so it's worth more because, like, these billionaire hermits want to have their goddamn castles, right?
Mhm.
And so it's worth more to them in that way. But if you have to share it with other people, well, then you can't be a hermit, a billionaire hermit. So they
Yeah.
don't want it as much. And of course, Trump, that's what Mar-a-Lago is. It's a social club because Palm Beach hated him so much because he was such an asshole that they refused to let it be his residence.
Yeah. I think also on his money thing and his claims about his money, like it's crazy to see like the biblical level of just him being gross with greed. I love money. I've never, nobody is as crazed over money as Trump is. Nobody. And some evidence of that is when he did the Comedy Central roast, when he was the honoree
Oh, I
of
didn't
the,
see that.
oh, it was years ago. But they ask you ahead of time when they prep you, when they prep the dais, they say, are there any jokes that are off limits? Is there anything we can't touch? And he said, the only thing is, do not say I make less money than I make. don't say I don't make, that I'm broke or whatever. And they're like, okay, so your wife. And he's like, go for it. And they're like, your kids. And he's like, yeah, talk shit about my kids, whatever. My whole family, threw them all under the bus. He was like, just, you cannot say that I make less money. And it's like, that's fucking insane.
Well, yeah, that's where his priority is. Like
Yeah.
he's definitely showing that. And and like his lawyer, that crazy woman, Alina Habba,
Hmm.
was going out, in between breaks in the trial, and going out there. Like she is like completely humiliating herself
Yeah.
on his behalf, just and like it wasn't yesterday, or it wasn't today, Monday, when we were recording this, but it was, I guess, last week. She got up and was talking about, the New York Attorney General. They're putting these children on the stage, on the the witness stand, and it's like they're actually older than her. Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. She's talking about them as if they're like teenagers.
Yeah, or like toddlers. That's really
It,
funny.
Yeah. And like and she's clearly tried to style herself to look like Melania Trump. Um like
Which
it's
God
just,
bless.
I know, it's like, well, cuz Trump, he won't hire a woman to be his lawyer unless he thinks she's hot. Uh
That's the thing, and I think he's way less
which is a good
concerned
thing
with
for
someone's
America.
actual credentials. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm honest to God, I'm surprised it's not like a Miss America pageant person, which, like, no shade to any of them. I'm not saying they're automatically stupid, but it's like I'm surprised he has a lawyer that practices law, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well, before she was working for him, she was doing parking lot. She was the in-house attorney for a parking lot company.
And now
So,
she has like the biggest case. If I thought I was going to prison, I would hire the best lawyer available. I would sell a kidney. What?
well, see, he wants to have better lawyers, but they won't hire him because he doesn't fucking pay. And
Oh,
that's
yes,
why
true.
he has these shit attorneys that keep like, no, and like, because in the civil case, the one that he was on the stand for, the jury, like his own lawyers, did not fill out a form to make it a jury trial. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so like they literally could have had, potentially at least some, drooling MAGA moron on the
Hmm.
jury, as a ringer, or or just, they could have had some level of ability to trick some average regular person, but they
Yeah.
were too incompetent. They didn't fill out
Yeah.
the fucking form. They literally just had to check a box that said, "Do you want a jury trial?"
Yeah. Well,
And
and
they
I was
failed
reading now
that.
this his lawyers now for this case or lawyer, whatever. His team, we'll say, for this case, and as I'm losing track, they said they're going to file for a mistrial because they think the judge has already made up their mind about Trump and doesn't like him. And it's like, that doesn't, I don't understand. I don't know how that can hold up. I mean, I'm curious how that will proceed because it's like you cannot like someone and still be fair. So where's the evidence that this person is so biased that they can't do their job, you know?
Yeah, well, basically, they seem to be resting it on that he's got a law clerk who gives him advice sometimes on procedure, and they found a photo of her from years ago with Chuck Schumer, the Senate Democratic leader,
Mhm.
and so therefore that's their proof.
I
I mean,
mean,
it's
it's
just
shaky.
stupid. Yeah, no, it's like totally dumb. But I mean, but that's basically Trump in this case and so many of his other cases. He's realized that he has no legal arguments uh, to
Mhm.
rest on, and because like it is obvious that he inflated the value of these properties. Like it's dead to rights that he did that. It's not even about like subjective values. Like he would say, I have a unit that has 15,000 square feet and it only had 5,000. Like, like this is not a matter of subjectivity in
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form. This is just fucking
Yeah.
lying.
It's also
Uh,
like not like he's a one-man show and he read his handwriting wrong, or he
mhm.
was measuring the room himself and he was drunk and he mismeasured. It's like you have hundreds of people working for you. There are people that are handling this, that know these things. And also you have the blueprints. Like there's just no
Yeah.
excuse, you know?
Well, yeah, and it all is basically coming down to, well, you can't convict me because I want to run for president. That's basically his
Mhm.
argument. And, you know, and like, I mean, everything is basically about stalling and in the hopes that now he can't do it with this case because it's a New York case, but like that's his goal with these federal cases is to somehow win as the president and then make it his cases go away. Like
Yeah.
it's the most, I mean, like it is really an example of a real fuck up on the part of the founding fathers, right? uh,
Yeah.
they said the president
Big
has
time.
unlimited pardon power. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to mention that the president shouldn't be able to pardon themselves. you know,
Yeah. Well, and he's technically not a law. He can't be president again because of January 6th. But and correct me if
well,
I'm
but
wrong,
that's
but I
in
believe
another
it,
trial.
yeah. And that depends on essentially like the courts upholding it and the Supreme Court upholding it, which that's never going to happen. If it were up to just the Supreme Court, he would be president again tomorrow.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, although to be honest, I mean, you know, like some of those guys like Kavanaugh or Gorsuch, I don't think they like Trump particularly because
Yeah.
he's too gauche for them. Is what I'm
Sure. I
assuming.
don't I wouldn't put it past them though to feel indebted to him and other right-wing psychos in a way, to feel like, okay, well they got me my job. So I'm going to help, I'm going to throw him this fucking bone, you know?
Yeah, no, it's very possible. I mean, you never know. I mean, certainly Clarence Thomas will. I mean, that dude has no ethics in any way. He's taken so many bribes; it's just
Mhm.
ridiculous. Definitely needs to, at the very least, be put in jail.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
Oh,
apparently, this recent poll in the New York Times is saying that Trump is leading Biden in five of six swing states, and like on its face, I don't. You are more well versed in that, and I have no. I like that. Just scares me. Like I read that, and I'm like, motherfuck, because from where I stand, I see support for Joe Biden is waning, and it's largely due to his support of war crimes in Palestine. And I think, a lot of my friends on the left were like really hoping to see a little bit more compassion from him, or a little bit more of like him telling Netanyahu, hey, you can't just fucking obliterate all of Palestine. And then when he came out and said that he didn't believe the number of Palestinians that were dead, I was like, oh, there goes anyone that I know that was still on his side. Like,
hmm.
look, I don't think I have any friends on the left that are crazy enough to vote for Trump, but also, like, look, if Trump isn't Trump being president is horrible for a million reasons. I'm not trying to downplay that, but also he didn't obliterate a country full of brown people. Like it's
Yeah.
you see a lot of
Well,
people
but
being
here's the
like, "Oh,
thing,
go
though.
ahead." Mhm.
No, but like that, I can see them being upset at Biden for his position, but the reality is Trump would have like given them twice as much weapons, and he would have
Oh,
sent
yeah.
American troops in there to start doing flamethrowers.
Yeah.
Like
In this case, yes, absolutely.
the whole Israel Palestine situation to me is it's like it is a perfect example of why you cannot trust the right wing, no matter what country that you're in,
Mhm.
because Hamas is a authoritarian Islamic regime that
Mhm.
wants to deny rights to women and it has all sorts of horrible policies. They don't hold elections. They don't let people have
Mhm.
any vote in the government. And then and Netanyahu is a literal criminal who is also under multiple indictments, just like Trump.
Mhm.
And he built the wall just like Trump wanted to do.
Mhm.
And then basically decided, I'm going to create a prison population out of the Gaza residents of Palestine. And like none of that shit worked. Like the dude has done nothing but fuck up his
Mhm.
entire career, and yet but in his coalition he keeps going for ever more extreme members of his coalition. So like before the Hamas terrorist attack that they did, he didn't have a single member of his cabinet who had any military experience, because all of the Israeli military people were like, "You're a freaky asshole criminal. We don't want to work for you.
Yeah.
You should be in jail." And like that is the future, though. Like if you are mad about Biden, like I get that, but like
Mhm.
if you live in a state where that matters, what your vote is, you're actually voting for Trump by not
Yeah.
voting. Like
I
that's the unfortunate
agree,
reality of it.
but then it's also infuriating that that's where we're at. That it's like
Yeah.
this guy who sucks or this guy who sucks harder.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't I
Well, there is an answer to it, though.
Mhm.
And most people have never heard of it. It's called
Move out of the country.
multi. No, no, no. It's actually something that we have in California here.
Mhm.
So, which is a blanket primary.
Mm.
So like California basically has mostly eliminated the Republican Party by and large, right? They haven't had a majority in the Senate or the House here for like
We did
20 years. Yeah, we did it. We actually did it.
it.
But part of how we did it was that the primary system in California is multi-party. Like you can't
Mhm.
vote in a single primary. And so people, if they don't like whoever the top Democrat is, they can vote for some other Democrat.
Yeah.
And so we have some elections where the general election is between two Democrats.
Mhm.
And then you can take your pick, and at the very least not risk, having some fascist become the senator from California.
Yeah, no
Um,
kidding.
and there's other ways to do this stuff, whether it's ranked choice voting or other things like
Mhm.
that. Like that's what we need to have. And if people, because so many people, they don't like Democrats, and I'm not going to tell them who they should like or who you shouldn't like,
Mhm.
but the reality is, that's if you don't want to be a part of the two party system, that's got to be your priority.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just fucking things. You're making things worse,
Yeah.
even if you can't see it. Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
really
just the reality.
frustrating. I mean, I had a there were people in 2016 who didn't wanna vote for Hillary, and, I don't love Hillary. I don't
Yeah. Well,
actually really
and you
like
didn't live
her
in a
much.
swing state. Yeah.
No,
So
and I'm like, but I'm also not insane because it's like really more than the president. At some point, you're voting for the Supreme Court. And
yeah.
that's what we fucking got. Like, we got Trump and we got 3 new justices that are psychos. I hate
And got
them.
rid of Roe versus Wade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the Republican electorate is so different than the Democratic electorate. The Republican electorate is mostly people who do nothing but watch Fox News all day.
Yeah.
And like they mainline that shit, and or if Janine Pirro left some droppings on the ground, they would lick them up.
She's
um,
so fucking nuts.
she really is. But like the Democratic electorate, they don't really follow politics nearly so much. Because they have other things to do. They actually have to work for a living because they're not retired. Like most Republican voters are over 55.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I think it's that, and I think that, like, I have
so
a
they
lot of
just sit
friends
home
on
and
the
watch Fox
left.
all day.
Like, I mean, and look, I'm biased, obviously, but my friends on the left are like reading articles by legitimate journalists. And then I have a bunch of family members on the right, and they watch Fox News all day. And they listen to Ben Shapiro, and they yell about cancel culture and fake news, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'm like, we can disagree for sure. We can absolutely disagree. I mean, I'm always right, but we can disagree. But you're not even coming from. We're not discussing facts anymore.
Well, yeah, but and that's what I'm saying though. So like the Republican voters, they don't listen to real journal. They don't participate in journalism. They
Mm-hmm.
only mostly get propaganda. And that propaganda is telling them really only two messages, which is the Democrats are going to murder you,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
and
wish.
and therefore you should vote for Republicans and crawl over broken glass to do
Mm-mm.
that. And that's not the message that Democratic, like there's plenty of people who are like us who are political junkies or
Mm-hmm.
professionals, but like your average Democratic person, they have a job. So, like they have to
Yeah.
go and they work in a school or a factory or wherever
Mm-hmm.
the hell it is, and that and they've got a lot of them have really awful commute every day, and they've got kids, like they've got better things to do than look at what's on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Then
And
watch just
so
like all these YouTube videos or.
yeah, and so like basically, so whereas the Republican electorate is constantly being pumped up, and so that's basically what happened. So there's another polling company called Navigator Research, which they did some kind of a it's not like a follow up, but it was a survey when they were asking people who were kind of discontented about stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, did you know that Joe Biden forgave a bunch of student loan debt? Did you know that he did this infrastructure spending? Did you know that he
Mm-hmm.
raised some, like they had never heard of any of this stuff,
Yeah.
and like that's, I mean, ultimately the fault of that is on Democrats, that like you can't tell people, well, you need to vote for him, but not present them any reason
Yeah.
as to why they should do it. And so like, yeah, and so like people have no idea that this shit happened. And I mean, hell, I would bet money that a lot of people don't even know that Roe versus Wade got overpeeled.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I
um
mean, there was definitely a lot of yelling about it, but where they can learn things. Is that a good segue? Trump wants to create an American Academy owned by the federal government, which
uh,
I don't think is the answer to anything. But that's
well,
just
definitely
me.
not a good place to learn things, that's for sure.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, it is like, so while he's been running for president, like he's been kind of marinating in these, so originally these right wing, they call
Mhm.
themselves think tanks, but they don't actually think, um these right wing nonprofit groups, and like at first they hated him, because they all wanted Ted Cruz, their fellow Christian nationalist freak, uh
Mhm.
and they were angry at Trump for a while anyway, but they made up, and so now they're generating all these bullshit ideas for him to think about. And he just, puts his name on them. And the American Academy is the latest one. And it's absolutely perfect for Trump to be the front man for it though, because
Absolutely.
Trump University, man, it's just the
Well, I
jokes
love
they
also
write.
that you could just put any combination of words together and it sounds like it means something, like American Academy. That sounds legitimate, I guess. In a way,
Mhm.
those are two words that have meaning. you know?
Yeah. Well, and actually there is an American Academy of Pediatrics.
Oh yeah, there's like
So
a American Academy of
of
Dramatic
this and that.
Arts and
Yeah.
of every
Yeah,
there's
all
an
that.
American Academy of everything. Look, maybe this will just be the thing to house all of them. Maybe they'll all get absorbed into one gigantic
Yeah.
master academy.
Well, that seems to be the plan because, like, I don't know. I think a lot of people who are kind of maybe casual, the casual lefty person that I'm talking about, like
Mhm.
they don't pay attention to the shit that Trump says, and says he's going to do. But like he's like this Trump University 2.0 basically. It's him. It's like entire massive bureaucratic operation where they're taking the money from university endowments. That's where the
Mhm.
money comes from. Trump says he's going to steal it from your university, whatever school you went to. Anybody listening to Trump's going to take your university endowment and give it to his American Academy. That's what he's going to do, and he said it. But then on top of that, the shit he's pushing out there is just like this basic bullshit stuff about the founding fathers were inspired by God to make the Constitution, and slavery, hey, it wasn't that bad, and I mean, it's just
Yeah.
this litany of propaganda. And now the only saving grace for it, from my standpoint, is that they wouldn't charge people money for it, and like this
Well, at
is in.
first.
Well, that's a fair point. But I would say though, but it would be actually cool if a Democratic president was like, had the idea of, hey, we'll have a national university and it
Mhm.
will be a real university and it will be free to any American citizen. Like,
Wouldn't
wouldn't
that
that
be
be
nice?
fucking great?
Well, we already have state
Uh,
universities, so it's like, just make those free. What are we doing? Why I don't understand the fight against affordable education. It's like, don't you want a well-informed
mhm.
society? Like, the museums,
With
and I'm
people with
probably,
skills, yeah.
yeah, and like the museums in Britain are free, and it's because they
Hmm.
want their citizens to be intelligent. Like, we Americans fight that tooth and nail. We were like, we will be goddamned if we're going to be reading books and learning things and well
Mm,
informed. It's like, I don't understand. It's crazy to me. Like, every year we slip farther and farther behind in like math and science
mhm.
and reading, and they're like, you know what the answer to this is?
The
Fewer
Bible.
books. Yeah, the Bible.
The Bible.
Fucking shoot me. It's also, wait a second, this reminds me, whatever happened to Trump's library? Did he just never get one or do one?
No, he hasn't done one, because
Because he
you know
doesn't read?
he,
You
yeah,
don't need
well,
a whole
that's
library for Mein Kampf. So,
yeah, well, no, I think it's that he wanted to wait until, I mean, the ostensible reason is that he was going to come back and serve his second term, after winning the
mhm.
2024 election.
You know what
But I
sucks is I
mean,
would really like for him to expire, but it doesn't matter how or when he goes, he's gonna be martyred. So it's like, we're not even gonna get to enjoy it if he chokes on a cheeseburger tonight, like, we'll never
well, they'll
have
definitely lie
fun.
about it if that's what happens with
Yeah. Speaking of evil assholes, Elon Musk
it.
now wants to turn Twitter into a dating service, which, look, any app, and I will say this forever, any app that allows you to DM where you have a profile picture of somebody, they're all dating apps. Facebook,
Mhm.
fucking Twitter, Instagram. I'm like, I've gone on dates with guys I've met on Twitter or Instagram. I'm like, it's just
But you didn't
communicating
you,
with people. That's
but you
all it
didn't
is.
pay Elon money though, so
Yeah.
it's not a real
What
dating
is
app, he
he
said.
gonna have a filtering service or what? I mean, like, I unfortunately, well, I've really fallen off of Twitter, but it was a lot of fun, and not everybody went to the same place, and I'm like, now I don't know what to do with all my stupid thoughts.
Well, I guess that's why you have a podcast.
Yeah, they're here. Come get them here.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, this is like Elon, he had this fantasy in the 90s of like that, because he had this company called X.com, and he's
Mhm.
trying to literally redo his 90s dream
Mhm.
that failed the first time, and hasn't learned a goddamn thing in the intervening 30 years. um and it's like, again, like, a guy who goes off and welcomes Nazis back into his platform,
Mhm.
and then he's telling people he wants to take their you take their credit card information and help them find romantic dating, like, while also welcoming Nazis back onto the platform. It's
Yeah.
like, what person is going to trust that, other
Nazis
than
need love too, Matt. How dare you
that's basically
discriminate?
Yeah, no, like that's all. I can't. I cannot anticipate any person wanting to sign up for this, especially like
No.
his whole obsession is we're going to have an everything app because there's some company in China that has that. But the only reason they have it is that all of the apps that exist out, in the rest of the world were banned in China. So this other company was like, well, we'll just make
Yeah.
our own Facebook. We'll just make our own Messenger. We'll just, and
Well,
so
yeah, and
they did.
everything is heavily monitored and whatever, and it's like there can't be a one place for everything because you're not going to run everything well. That's like
No.
hiring an electrician who's also a dog trainer, who's also a gardener, who's also a chef. It's like
Hmm.
I don't trust that yeah,
All that
and
stuff.
Elon's not even doing one thing well. He bought Twitter and then immediately tanked the value,
Yeah.
immediately destroyed it. It's not
And drove
fun
off a lot of
anymore.
people and advertisers.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's also that, I mean, again, like, people, we already have these apps. Like, there already is a Tinder, there already is a Hinge,
Hmm.
like, there already is a PayPal, there already is,
Hmm.
Venmo, all these other fucking things
That
out
are
there. Like,
very well
they
established.
work
So it's
just
like,
fine. Like,
yeah,
and in fact, a lot of people like them to be separate because if they get hacked, well, gosh, wouldn't it be
exactly.
nice that not all your data in every aspect of your fucking life is on one app?
Yeah.
Jesus, like that. I
Yeah,
mean, that
that's the
seems pretty
thing.
basic.
Hmm.
But he can't even, get that because he's got the mentality of basically a 17-year-old Ayn Rand, addict who's masturbating to pictures of Paul Ryan or something. So yeah, this, of course, it's not going to work. No way. And you know what? Just to go back a bit here to something with the Trump lawsuits, there is another one that we forgot to mention. Which now he's not a party to it, unfortunately. Which would be great if he was, because there is a guy out there who he is trying to. He's actually before the Supreme Court right now, trying to trademark the phrase "Trump too small," and it is literally his logo is a hand holding up, in a small measure, implying that Donald Trump's penis is tiny.
I just want to know, how do people find the time? I hate presidential merchandising and uh, political fandom. It's so hopelessly corny, and it's like Trump does that and the right does that with all the MAGA stuff, and then I hate that the
Mm.
left comes back and their answer is to also do that, and I'm like, no, we're supposed to drag them to hell. Why are you making a t-shirt where Biden looks like he's shredded and he's wearing like aviator sunglasses? This is so embarrassing. Please stop.
The whole case is kind of absurd, though, and the court did seem to be, so they actually had the hearing for it, and the justices appeared kind of skeptical because typically you're not allowed under most trademark laws to trademark something that has somebody else's name in it.
Hmm.
So you can do something with yourself in it, but you can't do something with somebody else, which there I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. And basically they're saying, look, if you want to sell this shirt or with whatever other shit you want to sell,
Hmm.
you can do it. Nobody's telling you can't. And but he's like,
It's
no,
also
I
like,
they're
why
gonna
do
rip off
you,
my logo of Trump too small. It's
it's
like, no,
just a
dude, your logo
hand.
sucks. Your
It's
logo
also just
sucks.
like that's probably an American Sign Language sign. Like you can't trademark, but
It probably is, yeah.
it's just it's also like, why? Why? This isn't the most clever thing. Also, the Supreme Court had to accept this case to hear this. So shame on
They
them
should
for
have
that.
just said no. Like they just should have said, this is stupid. Go away.
Yeah, the number of
Um,
things that they don't accept, it's like this should have been on that list.
yeah, no, like there's all kinds of cases that they say no to. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty open and shut. Hopefully, the guy's going to lose, even though it's like it is kind of weird. Like here we are, we're rooting against a guy making a dick joke on a comedy show, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's because it's a really fucking stupid joke.
That's how dumb it is. That is how dumb it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our last story for the day here. Um, would you have any performances coming up the next couple of days or weeks?
I do. I will be all over Colorado the 9th through the 19th, and I'm headlining in Colorado Springs this Friday and Saturday, December. What day is this? November 10th and 11th. Sorry,
Look in
Friday,
your
Saturday,
Trump
November
University
10th and
calendar.
11th. Yeah, I'm going by a different. I'm just going by a different time. Space time continuum. I'm not using that correctly. Listen, basically what I'm trying to tell you is get tickets. I'm headlining 3 E's Comedy Club in Colorado Springs Friday, Saturday. There's 4 shows, 2 at 7:30, 2 at 9. Lots to choose from. Tickets are available on their website right now. And please follow me on Instagram at Olympian Lisa Curry.
Yep, and make sure to follow Doomscroll at Doomscroll Show on Instagram, and if you're still on Twitter, you can do that there as well. And I am on most of these places at Matt Sheffield. So that's it for this one. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.